We were told that if the healing were not permanent and the infirmity returned, it was on account of the lack of the true spiritual realization of the individual. Chapter 10. When we returned to headquarters, we found all in readiness for crossing the mountains. After a day's rest and a change of porters and animals, we started on the second stage of our journey, this time actually to cross the Himalayas. The happenings of the next 20 days were of but passing interest. Emal talked to us on the realization of the Christ consciousness. He said it is through the power of our own mind, our thought action, that we are able to bring forth or realize the Christ consciousness. Through the power or process of thought, we can transmute and evolve our bodies, or our outer conditions and surroundings, through recognition of this Christ consciousness within ourselves, so that we will never experience death, nor any change called death. This is done wholly through man's power to visualize, idealize, conceive, and bring forth that which he gazes upon. This is done by first knowing or perceiving or having faith that the Christ is within ourselves, seeing the true meaning of Jesus' teachings, holding our body one with God, made in the image and likeness of God, and merging that body into the perfect God body just as God sees us. We have idealized, conceived, and brought forth into manifestation the perfect God body. We are born again, truly of and in the kingdom of God. It is in this way that we can return all things to the universal mind, substance from which they sprang, and bring them back, return them perfect into outer form or manifestation. Then, by holding them in their pure, spiritual, perfect state, the vibrations are lowered, and the things we wish to create come forth in perfect form. In this way, we can take every false belief, every old condition, every sin, all of our past life. It does not matter what it has been, how good or seeming bad. It does not matter what mountain of false belief or doubt and unbelief or fear we or anyone else have erected about us or in our paths. And we can say to them all, I now return you to the great ocean of universal mind substance, from which all things come forth, and where all is perfection, and from which you sprang, there to be again resolved into the elements from which you were created. And now return you, or bring you back from that pure substance, as perfect and pure as God sees you, and hold you always in that absolute perfection. We could say to ourselves, I now realize in the old order of things that I brought you forth imperfectly, and you manifest imperfectly. Realizing the truth, I now bring you forth perfect as God sees you. You are reborn perfect, and it is so. We must realize that the inner alchemist, God within, has taken hold of this, and has transmuted, refined, and perfected that which seemed imperfect, that which we brought forth and are now returning. We should realize that it is refined, perfected, and transmuted, just as our own bodies are refined, perfected, and returned to us as God's body, joyously perfect, beautifully free. Finally, we should realize that this is the perfect Christ consciousness in all and for all. This is hid with God, hid with Christ in God. The morning of July the 4th found us at the summit of the pass. Emal had told us that evening before that he felt we had earned a holiday, and that he saw no more fitting time than the 4th to celebrate. At breakfast, Emal began by saying, This is the 4th of July, the day you celebrate the birth of your independence. How fittingly expressive is this day. I feel that all of you must have more or less confidence in us, therefore I'm going to speak freely. In a few days we shall be able to prove to you conclusively that the statements I am making are true. We love to call your country America, and all of its inhabitants Americans. You will never know the joy these few moments bring to me of this day of such import, to be able to talk with you and see eye to eye with a small group of Americans who were, with one exception, born in that great land. Let me say that it has been the privilege of some of us to have beheld your country long before Columbus started on the memorial expedition. There had been other attempts at discovery, but they had come to naught. Why? Simply because of the absence of that one God-given quality, faith. The one who had the courage and faith to see and carry out the vision had not yet awakened. The moment that soul awoke to the realization that the earth was round and there must be land on the other side, equal to that already known, we could see that another great historical epoch had begun to unfold. Who but the great omnipotent One, who sees all things, could have awakened that little grain of faith in the soul of Columbus? What were his first words as he stood before the Queen that day, not recognizing the higher power? "Dear Queen, I am firmly convinced that the earth is round, and I wish to sail forth and prove it." I do not know whether you recognize it, but those words were God-inspired, and Columbus was recognized as one who had the determination to carry out what he undertook. Then the long sequence of events started to unfold, which was shown us years before, not in its entirety, but enough so that we have been able to follow. Of course, we dreamed of the almost unbelievable wonders to be accomplished and recorded in the seemingly short span of years that has passed, but those of us that have been privileged to live through it now fully realize that far greater wonders are in store for your great nation. We feel that the time has come for your nation to awaken to its true spiritual import, and we wish to do all we can to help you to this realization. It appears that their interest in us was prompted by their great desire to have America accept the Christ consciousness and realize her possibilities. They know that her inception was truly spiritual, and through that fact she is destined to be a leader in the spiritual development of the world. Email continued. Think of this made possible by the little seed of faith planted in the consciousness of one man they allowed to develop. What has happened? Can you realize it? Columbus in his day was thought to be an impractical dreamer. Are we not all coming to the place where we believe and know that the dreams of yesterday are but the realities of today? For who has accomplished anything who was not a so-called dreamer? In reality, were his visions dreams? Were they not ideas in the grand universal mind, God, conceived in the soul of the one who brought them forth as a great truth? Did he not set forth upon an uncharted sea, visioning clearly in his own consciousness a land beyond? Whether he saw the promise and prominence to be attained by the land, or even the name of America to be given to it, I do not know. In all probability, that was left for those that followed to work out. The point is, was it not first a dream or vision? We already see some of the wonders unfolded, but we can only visualize the wonders yet to follow as the result of that one vision. In this way we may recount the many visions that have helped to make the world a better place in which to live. Is not this the way God manifests or expresses through all? The one that has already brought forth is the one that has the greater faith in God, either consciously or unconsciously. Think of that soul setting out upon what was then an uncharted sea, the hardships, the trials, and the discouragements, with but one thought uppermost in mind, the gold. Then events led on and always up to the day when that little handful embarked on the Mayflower, seeking freedom to worship God in their own way. Think of it, in their own way. Taken in the light of the Spirit and subsequent happenings, does the real truth come? Did they not build greater than they thought? Can you not see the hand of the great omnipotent one above it all? Then came the dark days, when it seemed as though the first colonies would be snuffed out. But what God has set his hand to must triumph. Still later came the great day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.